Okay, so in the last video, we ended up going through and overriding our interact function to have just another variation of itself. So that way we kind of have a way to just call back to it when our server makes the call. So whenever we go to interact and the server has to do it, we can go back and just have our code set and be altered in one specific location. Now, we need to kind of keep working through our list here. So we have our opening, closing, we have our picking up items, dropping them, and all that kind of stuff. However, we need to also, for our doors, which is, I'm referring to the open and close, and my mouse is messing up again. We have this guy here. We want to be able to set it up so it is pretty much controlled by a key. So for that, we want to create a key class, add our interface to it, our pickup interface. That way we can obviously add it to our kind of inventory and really just go from there. So we're going to have to kind of think about this a little bit. So there's a couple of things that one I want to do. So I'm debating on whether or not we want to have an actual visual inventory. I am kind of leaning against this at the moment because I think it'll be simple enough just to have keys, obviously, that control your door, and other ones will not have any items to unlock them. Instead, you'll have to discover some form of code. So for now, we're just going to make our key class. So let's go ahead and create that under actors. So we're going to create a new C++ class, actor, and let's call it key. So let's go ahead and create this guy. And we can also close down our item class. Now we just got to wait for it to do its thing. So it fails, obviously. Give it a second, it should appear. Alrighty, here it is. We have our key.h and .cpp. Now, obviously, as always, we want to remove the tick function, disable tick. And what does a key need? Well, a key needs a static mesh. So we're going to go ahead and create that. So u property, we'll do edit anywhere for the time being. And forward declare u static mesh component and key mesh. All right, let's go ahead and create that. So create default subobject, use static mesh component, text key mesh, and set that to the root. So root component equals the key mesh. Now we want to go ahead and include components, static mesh component.h, and we are pretty much ready to continue. So we have our interact interface here. So we have our interact, and we want to go ahead and inherit from this. So let's go ahead and do that. We can go to our door and copy the include path just so we can paste it in. And then let's go ahead and make it inherit from I interactable interface. From here, we can go through and override it. So we're going to do virtual void interact, create the implementation, and we want to also do a authority check. So if as authority, we want to add it to the character that's getting passed in. So it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to go ahead and replace the character parameter with our our escape room YouTube character, just to kind of make it so it's not as annoying to keep casting it. So I'm going to go ahead and change that parameter. So we go to our interactable interface, change the type, in which case we have to forward declare it. Go to door.h, do the exact same thing. Door.cpp, same thing, as well as with our key. Now we're also, just so we can compile, we have to do this to our item as well. Item.cpp, like so. We can close down our item. And we also we want to make sure we forward declare inside of our headers. So key.h has to forward declare our character, door.h has to forward declare it, and I already did to the item. So once that's done, we should be good to go. And if we look in, actually, let's go ahead and just try to do a recompile real quick to make sure we're still good to go. Didn't overlook anything silly. Okay. So it conflicts with another type. So key, what type does it mess with? Okay, we might actually have to name it something other than key. So that sounds like that's going to be a problem, in which case we are going to go ahead and create a new class, and let's just call it unlocking key or something like that, and we'll just copy the stuff over. So again, create a new class of type actor. Let's just call it unlocking key. Or, yeah, that'll be the decent enough name. And we'll just move the code over and delete our key class. Again, let's just wait for it to show up. Oh, there it is. Key.h, copy everything except for the constructor. And we also want to inherit from our interface. So let's inherit as well as include it. Okay, then we can go to the .cpp, copy, paste, change the class, and we can remove our tick functions and set tick to false. From there, we just go ahead and include our character. So escape room YouTube escape room character.h. So let's delete the key.cpp and .h. Okay. Now I'm going to go close down the editor, try to recompile, and just see where we're at again. So let's see what issues we have. Okay, none. Kind of expecting there to be one or two. So we have our key now. So when we call interact, we pass in the character that is obviously trying to interact with us. So what we do is we want to have a function to quote unquote add the key to our, I don't know why I quoted that, but to add the key to our inventory. So a YouTube character is going to have a public function for this. So what we're going to do is void add, let's do add item to inventory. It's going to take in an a actor pointer and just call it item. Generate the implementation. Obviously do our authority check. And there we go. So the only thing we really want to do now is create the inventory array. So we can do that under protected. I'll do it right under held item. And obviously we do want this to be replicated because it's coming down from the client, or sorry, from the server. So it's going to be a T array of a bunch of pointers to a actor. And let's just call this one inventory. Now let's go over to our replication function. Guessing I overlooked it. Okay, I don't think I'm this blind. Oh, there it is. So we're going to go ahead and replicate inventory. Now, another thing we can, at least for the time being, we don't need other players to really know what's in our own inventory as of yet. So what we can do is simply replicate the inventory to just ourselves. So we're going to do rep lifetime underscore condition. Then the third parameter is going to be the condition. So cond underscore owner only. So that way inventory is only going to be replicated just to ourselves. So that's why I get confused. So our turnout rate and lookup rate was above all of our other stuff. So I'm going to move it down right underneath our movement, just so it's a little bit clearer. So we should have input constructor. Let's move add item to inventory below begin play as well, or below our get lifetime replicated props, and we're good to go. Okay. So if we have authority and item, so we want to make sure item is valid, that's getting passed in. We're going to do inventory, add, and what we're going to add is item. So because it's replicated, that will trickle down, and the client will then soon know what is actually in their inventory. So we're adding the item. Now we just have to figure out how to call this. So in unlocking key.cpp, if we have authority, what we're going to do, actually let's do the check again. So if we have authority and character is valid, we do character, add item to inventory, this. So we're going to pass in ourselves. So we need to set up a way to tell, whenever the actual item has been used from the inventory. So if we look at our item.cpp, when we call interact, we go through, did we ever use an onRep? I'm guessing no, we did not. So maybe we did that in here. And wrong direction. Okay, I'm being kind of dumb. Yeah, I don't even know. I feel like we did something. Where did we attach it? Oh, blind as a bat. I literally even clicked on it too. So we did attach to component there. So we're going to kind of do something similar. So we are probably going to have to set up some form of onRep as well, because we're not going to necessarily be attaching the item. Instead, we just want to hide it visually. Or we can even go through and destroy the item instead and have some kind of, just some way to indicate that, hey, we have this, this key, for example. So that could be another way we do our inventory. So we would just create a little structure with some kind of ID or something in it. But anyways, we have our key set up. We add the item to the inventory. Now we just want to go through and hide the mesh. And we also, one thing I forgot to copy over was the mesh. So key mesh, we're going to do create default subobject of the type use static mesh component. Give it the name of key mesh. And set the root component to equal the mesh. Okay, so we have that. And we just do key mesh. That hidden in game, we're going to pass in true. So that way it's hidden. So that's going to be our little test to see if that actually replicates, because again, this is running on the server, so we will see what happens. Go ahead and compile and run. Okay, go to our unlocking key. We're going to create a blueprint version. So BP underscore unlocking key, place it in blueprints. Go ahead and give it a mesh. How big is this? Okay, that's a little big. We have something smaller. Floor. Okay, let's just we'll do the normal cube. And for scale, point. And we'll just scale it, make it a little bit smaller. So here's our key. And that's gonna try to be the example here. So let's give it a try. Here's the key, has collision, press F on it. And it's hidden on the server, but not the client. So that kind of tells us that we need to create an onRep in order to have that replicate. So again, whenever I pick it up on the client, if you look at the server on the right side, it disappears on the server, but not the client. So we want to set up an onRep event to trigger this to happen on the client as well. So last thing I want to check is if it's hidden in game, does it have collision? It does have collision, so we are going to want to disable collision as well. So in the next video, we're going to go through and actually do that. So that's going to be it for this one. And yeah, if you like what I'm doing and you want to help support me, you can find a link to my Patreon down in the description below. I have a team deathmatch series where we create team deathmatch on Unreal Engine with C++, as well as a couple other features like weapon customization, custom spawning, and all that kind of stuff, just for patrons. If you have any question or anything like that, you can find a link to my Discord server down below as well, and I'll try to help you out. So I'll see you in the next video.